Hey guys, guess who's back? Sorry, I've been away for a while, guys. I know. I don't know what to say. Honestly, I had a writer's block. I didn't know how to make any more videos that I thought were gonna be valuable. That was gonna be valuable content for you guys to be able to watch. So, I kind of just took a step back. Also, some life-changing events, career changes, and other initiatives that I'm doing outside of Guild Wars 2 in my real life that I would love to share with you in another video, but those are kind of things that have been taking a lot of my time lately. So I don't mean to make excuses, and I miss you all, and I'm sorry, and I hope you guys forgive me for not making a video for the longest time. But now I'm back, and I decided that what I want to do is stick back to my roots, which I was originally really passionate about. As much as I hate to admit, I love Guild Wars 2 PvP, and I want to make content around certain builds that I want to start experimenting with, playing with, things that are going to help build more efficiency and just carry a high win rate ratio for you all to be able to utilize. So that's what I'm going to be doing a lot in these videos on my off time. One of the classes, the one I'm going to be speaking about today, if you stick with the video, you'll see I have about an 80% win rate with this class and this build. It's nothing new, it's nothing crazy, but it does work, and that's the ultimate goal. Now, if you want to get more insight on anything, please follow me on my Discord. The link's going to be down below where you can check it out. You can ask me any questions there you want, leave me comments, give me build ideas, things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and get into it. We're going to be talking about Theif. Alright guys, so the first thing that we're going to cover is just the general build that I play. There are a few variations that I like to try depending on what I'm facing on the enemy team. But overall, this is the most standardized cookie cutter build here. So I want to go through the traits first and explain in depth each individual trait and why it matters. And then from there, we'll go ahead and speak a little bit about the amulet and runes that you'll be using, as well as the weapons. So the first one is going to be trickery. The reason I use trickery, just going down the trait line, is the first minor trait is kleptomaniac. So stealing gives you 2 initiative. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with Theif, you see at the bottom there's a few diamonds. That is your initiative. Initiative is what allows you to use any skill that's not an auto attack. So in my previous video about Theif, I kind of explain it, but just to kind of do another quick review, as you see, my initiative starts going down whenever I am using any sort of attack that's not an auto attack. So if I have low initiative, then it's not going to allow me to do that. But if I go ahead and steal on somebody, I gain 2 initiative back. So that is a plus there, which is why we use trickery, is to gain the extra initiative, to be able to capitalize on making sure that we can finish off your enemy. Thrill of a crime there, when you steal, you and all nearby allies gain fury, might, and swiftness for 10 seconds, which is really helpful if you're in a team fight and you end up stealing on an enemy. That's going to allow you to get more boons just to help you and your team. And then the initiative here, preparedness, gives you an increase of 3 extra initiative. It may not seem like much, but if you were to switch off, you see that you do lose those 3 different diamonds there. So I definitely recommend using trickery, just so that way you would be able to utilize most of your skills. It's going to matter, especially when you see in the gameplay that using certain skills or being more mobile is only possible whenever you do have more initiative. So Bountiful Theif as well is going to be able to grant you vigor, and also you're going to steal a couple boons whenever you steal from the enemy. So that's really useful, because not only do you remove their boons, but you also apply those same boons to you, which is only going to make you a lot stronger and your enemy a lot weaker. Lead attack, so all damage dealt per initiative spent is increased by 15%. So that's really useful whenever you're trying to finish off an enemy, especially if they're really low, about 50% HP. It's going to allow you to possibly do a killing blow with a single backstab. And then the other one is sleight of hand. Sleight of hand dazes your enemy whenever you steal. So this just makes steal or swipe I'll explain that in a little bit, but that makes that skill really valuable and it's something that you're going to be able to play around. So just to make sure that you don't mindlessly waste it, as you can see there, it has a lot of different applications to it. So I mean, the toolbar is really huge there. The next one is going to be Shadow Arts. So Shadow Arts is really nice because it provides you a little bit more survivability than some of the other trait lines out there. Now, Guild Wars 2 is the most recent balance patch. You're going to notice that a lot of the skills or a lot of the other classes and professions don't really have a lot of burst damage, similar to Thief. So this one trait line provides you with a lot more survivability and prevents you from being killed off so quickly and easily, especially when you see there at the bottom of my screen, I only have 13,000 HP. So the first one is you gain stealth when you use a healing skill. This is really valuable, especially when you amplify that with Deception. So Deception already grants you 4 seconds of stealth, but having this one minor trait is also going to apply 1.5 seconds of stealth on top of that. So you're looking at about 5.5 seconds of stealth just from one skill, that's your heal, which provides you an ability to be able to escape from your enemies, and also is going to allow you to use it in an offensive and defensive utility. Stealing grants you stealth as well. So once again, if you go up to an enemy and you use your swipe on them, you will get, you don't even have to have somebody targeted so much, is you can use it and you get stealth there. As you saw, I didn't really have anyone targeted. So it's really good if you're looking to disengage or get detargeted in situations where you would die otherwise. Leeching Venoms. I personally like to use this because it applies poison to your enemies. So you get this Spider Venom boon at the bottom of your bar, and it also siphons life from your enemies, but it also provides poison onto them, which is a condition that is really strong. If you guys aren't familiar, poison does a lot of not so much, it does good passive damage, but it also negates your enemy's healing ability by 33%. So that, I believe, is probably why it's better than some of the other ones. This one removes damage taken by 33% when you're revealed. Not so much a fan of that. I would much rather be a little bit more offensive, where I'm just applying poison, being more of an annoyance to the enemy versus trying to survive as much as possible. So another thing here is stealth lasts longer in this minor trait when granted by your skills, and also you gain 50% movement speed. Once again, this helps you disengage a lot. If you're stuck in one spot and you need to get out of an area of effect attack, or your enemy just has a huge radius or a huge cone of damage that they can apply to you, that 50% movement speed could be the difference between you actually surviving in that situation or dying. The next minor trait is stealth attacks. So siphon health if they hit. So if you do a backstab on somebody when you don't have full health, then it will give you that extra HP, which only provides you more survivability. The Grandmaster trait here, as you see, Rendering Shade steals boons from enemies while you stealth attack, and striking boomless foes with the stealth attack inflicts fear to them. So this is really, really nice to see, because as you guys are probably aware, your swipe is going to steal boons. It's also going to daze them. And on top of that, you're going to apply those boons to yourself. And then from there, if you hit them with a stealth attack, you steal more boons, and you also provide a fear. So it can really get, it can get like really, it can just get like really nice. You can get a nice combo off onto the enemy there if you are able to land a great stealth opener, or even if you're coming into a fight after rotating every once in a while, then you can just land a very nice backstab, or even use your short bow auto onto an enemy and just get them into a CC chain. All right, so and Daredevil is going to be the final trait here. This is a specialization that you can unlock with the expansion. If you haven't purchased the expansion, there's going to be a link down below in the description where you can use my game code and hopefully support the channel and support me and my dog and my family here. Doesn't give us much, but it just, the gesture is really nice. So there it is, Daredevil. The first one is going to be swipe. Now this changes your steel to swipe. Why I choose to play Daredevil instead of Core Thief is recently steel used to be an unblockable skill. However, that was changed as of, I believe, 6 months ago to a year ago. So now the only way to have an unblockable steel is going to be through swipe, which is unlocked through Daredevil. This is important because right now there is a lot of boon application. You're probably going to be fighting a lot of Guardians that have Aegis, Warriors that have Shield Block, Revenants as well, so forth and so forth. So in order to make sure that you can land that swipe, in order to do as much damage as possible, for example, if a Guardian is trying to heal or res, or an Elementalist is trying to res, or a Warrior is blocking, then you can use that to stop them and make sure that you can kill them before the rest of their cooldowns come up. Say maybe their heal's off cooldown and they're using their shield block to save some time there. Now, if you were to swipe onto that individual, you're going to stop them, you're going to make them vulnerable, and now they really don't have any sort of way to escape the rest of the damage from you or your team. The first trait there, Escape is Fortitude. Gain health when you successfully evade an attack. Remove a condition whenever you evade an attack. I really like this trait over the other ones because if you need to remove any sort of condition, there are a lot of evades. You have 3 evades right now on Daredevil, which you can swap however you want to use, but dash being one of them. So that removes 3 conditions and also heals you a little bit. Plus you have this skill here, which is your Longbow 3. Disabling Shot is also an evade. So I really like to use that if I need to get some Connie Cleanse. And also passively, if I'm dodging an attack, it's just going to add some more value to some of those dodges. Because if I have a condition and I dodge a very powerful attack from an enemy, not only am I going to avoid getting hit by them, I'm going to gain some HP and I'm also going to cleanse a condition. So the next trait, Weakening Strikes. Your next attack after dodging causes weakness to foe struck. Now, weakness is really good. It does lower the endurance regeneration by 50% and also causes a lot of glancing blows. So your enemy isn't going to crit you as much, which prevents them from causing a lot of damage to you whenever they do a burst onto you. So if you dodge an attack from an enemy and then you end up attacking them and grant them weakness, and say it's a warrior and he does an eviscerate on you, that eviscerate has a 50% chance of glancing you, where say you don't have any dodges and you get hit by it, that might be the difference between you living in that fight or dying in that fight. I like this as well because it doesn't really have too much of an internal cooldown, and it also increases your damage whenever you have weakness applied to your enemy. So Havoc Specialist, strike damage dealt increase based on endurance that's missing. So you get 5% extra damage per missing bar. So that's really cool because all this does is makes it really nice for you as a thief to have as much damage application regardless of if you have HP, endurance. It causes you to have as little gaps in your DPS as possible. And sometimes it may even amplify your DPS, right? You have no endurance, your enemy has 50% or less HP, and also they have weakness. So you're gonna just be stacking all those different types of traits that you have there to land a very nice finishing blow. So make sure that you're paying attention to that. That's something that I pay attention to whenever I'm looking at my opponent, making sure that I land all these different sort of vulnerabilities onto them so I can land the most amount of damage to support my team. The Endurance Thief, gain endurance when you successfully steal from an enemy. So once again, if you land a steal, it's very important that you land a steal. I just trying to never miss a steal. If you miss a steal, I personally would either disengage or try something else, because you do get a lot of different benefits from landing your steal. And this is one of them, the endurance gain. You gain 25 endurance, which allows you to continuously dodge, cleanse conditions, and also increase your DPS. And then dash. Dash is a really nice dodge mechanic here because it removes conditions and you gain swiftness whenever you use it. So if you want to just apply permanent swiftness, you just dash, you gain that swiftness, and then also you gain the weakening strikes just from doing that. And also you gain your damage dealt to you is reduced, right? So here's why Thief is really strong. On top of everything that you have, you remove any sort of impairing condition that causes you some sort of movement instability, right? You travel 450 range, and then you also get negative 10% damage Condi and negative 10% incoming power damage. So all these together is going to make Thief probably one of the best classes in my opinion. I believe as a solo queuer or even a duo queuer, playing Thief and getting really good at Thief is going to allow you to control a lot of the pace of the game, depending on who you're fighting. But if all things considered, this is my favorite class right now in the current meta to play. Now let's go over the sigils and the rune here. So first thing, the amulet as well. I use Berserker amulet just so that way, personally, Thief isn't really in a lot of trouble whenever you're fighting anybody. Necros aren't going to one-shot you unless you just stand in a lot of their AoE. Guardians aren't going to, Warriors aren't going to. Nothing's really going to one-shot you right now in this current meta. So you can get away with running a Berserker amulet to maximize the amount of damage that you put out. Now, disclaimer, you could still die really easily, but you're not going to die so fast. If you do die really quickly, it's more or less just things you need to work on, maybe reaction time or zoning, things like that. Also, Rune of Divinity is going to provide you more health to survive. Without it, I think I would be at 11,000 health. And also, you're going to get +8 stats. This is very generally, it's a really good rune to use, especially if you're fighting in ranked where you don't really know too much of what you're going to be fighting. If you want just a easy rune to use that's very cookie cutter, I would use Rune of Divinity. Now the weapons are going to be dagger, pistol, and short bow. Dagger is going to have the sigil of exploitation, so that way you do 5% extra damage to targets that are below 50% HP, on amplifying already the damage boosters that you're going to get from your traits. And additionally, you're going to get Sigil of Absorption, so stealing a boon when you interrupt the enemy. This is really nice because there are a few interrupts that you have. Obviously, you have your swipe, you have your stealth attack, and then you have your Basilisk Venom, and you also have your headshot. So using this with a 3-second cooldown, it really allows you to attack boon heavy classes such as Guardians. Maybe you're fighting a lot of Guardians that are just popping stability or popping resolution. You can steal as many boons as possible just depending on how many interrupts you have. So that's why I really like using Sigil of Absorption. Now for the longbow, I like to use energy and cleansing. Just getting rid of one other condition when I weapon swap is going to allow me to survive. Short bow is a really good weapon for multiple reasons. You can use it to escape attacks with 3. You can use it to enhance your movement abilities with 5. 4, choking gas is an unblockable, also dazes and pulses poison. So really good for attacking downed opponents and also preventing any sort of rezzing abilities and stopping anything that is blocking if you don't have your swipe. 2 is a really good skill, Cluster Bomb, that just does massive amounts of damage to enemies. If you end up if they're standing in one area and you're just using it, you're going to be able to do massive amounts of damage to your opponents. So that is overall the build and the traits here. So I like to use Hide in Shadows because you get 5.5 seconds of stealth whenever you use it. Shadow Step allows you to break a stun twice, and also if you return back to your location, you cleanse 3 conditions. So that's really nice to see. If you have a bunch of conditions, you can kind of just double tap it there, get rid of them. Blinding Powder is also a stun break, but what I like to use it for as well is I like to use it to give area stealth to my teammates in case they need it, blind the opponent, and if I really need to use it for a stun break, I will use it for a stun break. Sigil of Agility. Fun fact, I do switch this one out with Smokescreen. Depending on if I'm fighting a projectile heavy class, Smokescreen does cause blindness and blocks missiles. So if I'm fighting a Condi Thief or I'm fighting a Ranger, I will generally use smokescreen so I can avoid a lot of the range attacks that they're using, plus give them permanent blindness so they can't really hit me as well. It also is a really good skill if you want to provide some sort of cover. If you and your team are rezzing down opponent or down teammates, you can use that, blocks the missiles there, and also causes blindness inside, so that way you can get the res off. I use a Signet of Agility. It removes conditions as well and grants me 25 endurance. The endurance isn't really too much, as you see there, it's only half a bar, but the Condi cleanse is really nice. And if I am not fighting a Condi heavy team, I generally switch to Assassin Signet so I can just land a higher backstab or do just increased damage. As you see, the passive gives you 180 power, and whenever you activate it, it gives you 540 power. So that could be the difference between a 5k backstab or a 7.5k backstab. Basilisk Venom is really nice to have because you have Venom Share, so you give these to your teammates as well. And on top of that, so everyone has an unblockable if you give them Basilisk Venom. You stone your opponents for 1.5 seconds. And additionally, not only do you get the life siphon damage, but it's a really quick cooldown, so you can give it to them, you can use it. I like it personally over any other Thief skill because it just only amplifies the amount of unblockable attacks that you have and the amount of CCs that you have. Because once again, using Basilisk Venom is going to remove boons from your opponents if you cause that to interrupt. Just a fun fact so you guys understand, if you miss an attack, it's going to remove the Basi Venom. So be careful when you use it, make sure that you land the attack and be very patient as well, because you don't want to miss that. That is a skill that's going to be. So the biggest thing when it comes to Thief, this is what you're wanting to look for whenever you're playing in ranked. You want to make sure that you go through a list. Now the list is going to be, if you can join an outnumbered fight, join an outnumbered fight so you can support your teammate. If your team is in a team fight and you notice that there is an enemy that has very little HP, then your goal is to go into that fight and make sure that you can actually get a down and secure that kill. And then the third thing that you want to make sure to do is you want to make sure to rotate whenever you're not engaged in a fight. The don'ts that you want to make sure is you don't want to plus an even numbered fight. That's not really what you're there to do. If you're doing that, you're really taking away from the value of being a Thief, which has high mobility and can maneuver quick and join outnumbered fights. But I will show you in the beginning of this game how I generally start. I give everyone some Venom, and I like to plant in an area where you don't really see, where you have line of sight or the enemy doesn't have line of sight of you and your team, and I will go ahead and stealth all of us. So I use my pistol 5, go right into using blinding powder to get the area stealth effect, and then I swap to long or short bow and do a couple of the cluster bombs, and that should give us about 6 seconds of stealth there. Now I generally like to look over and see what the rotations of the enemy is. Obviously as a Thief you don't want to be the first one to show your face, so I look and I see 3 people going to our home node. Now mathematically that means maybe 1 is mid, so we have 2 people mid. That's a good ratio there, and then we have 3 going to our home node, and then probably 1 over here on far, which you see the 1 far is the Thief. So I go ahead and join this engineer and go in and try to kill this Thief, but it doesn't, I believe we don't get him. He's pretty good at dodging a lot of my skills there, so I just go ahead and leave once our engineer gets the cap. But remember, you want to make sure to not, once we have it, there's no need for me to be there anymore. Matchup wise, I just believe that our engineer also will be able to fight that Thief, and we ended up getting the other node as well. So I rotate into a main fight here. Looks like we're going into mid, and as you saw there, the interrupt there came out from the Basilisk Venom, and that allowed me to cluster bomb. One other tip about Thief, especially this build, you want to make sure not to rely so heavily on backstabs. Backstabs are nice and they're good finishers, but a lot of the times what you can tell from a good thief, an experienced thief, to a not experienced thief is how much they use their short bows. So don't be afraid to use your short bow as much as possible, so that way you can just get the quick kill here. Now, one other thing that might be helpful is doing a shadow step stomp, so you can guarantee the cleave there. And now, as you see here, this is a good situation to look at. I'm just gonna look at the mini map because the mini map is very important for you as an individual to watch. Notice that there are quite a number of enemies here. We have 2 members on my team that are either downstate or on respawn. So I end up just peeling off with this Guardian, and we're gonna go try to 2v1 this Thief again, I believe. And he actually leaves me to 1v1 him. So skipping on. So here, it's a good situation as well. We are in a 3v4, it looks like. Allows me to go ahead. I see a target there. He's got 48% HP. My goal is to go in and finish him off. So I'll be able to do that with a nice Heartseeker. As you saw, 6,000 damage. Heartseeker does a lot of damage to enemies when they are below 50% HP. So that was really nice. What I like to do on downstates as well is drop a blinding powder if we're looking to stomp them, so that way they can't get a downstate crowd control, or anyone around them isn't able to attack you. So I'm able to get this, and I end up running as fast as I can because this Revenant is on me. But we were able to get out, and that's what I'm talking about with Thief. You see how much I was able to move around and make sure that I kept myself in stealth and avoided a lot more damage, and ultimately avoided dying. Now, as you see there, once again, I'm not engaging into that fight. I'm going into mid buff there, but let's go more rotations. So I end up dying. Okay, because it's going to be very important for you to see kind of what I do here after I died. All right, so there's a huge fight here for the buff. The Thief is dead. I see my Ranger, he is going to die as well. And I go in for this very risky stomp, or res, where I drop a blinding powder and also a pistol 5 to stealth all of us. And I go in for a res here. It actually got 2 of my members stealth that were in downstate. So I was able to get the res there. I wasn't able to get Sammy Hates, unfortunately, but I did end up saving myself by moving out with only 600 HP. And this allowed me to decap this node here. So as you see, I wasn't really engaged in the fight for the buff with the rest of my team. I was being a little bit more proactive and impactful by making sure that we could either spread the map out, having people push me to try to get this node back, and alleviating the amount of individuals that were going to be there. So that's kind of what my goal was. And then from there, we were losing. But we end up winning. Ultimately, that's what I wanted to talk about there with how to play this class. This one is a little bit of a better game. Once again, you see I give everyone Venom, and I try to go into an area again where the enemy can't see us, stealth us here. My teammate, as you see there, was able to provide some area of stealth as well. And this was kind of awkward. I generally don't like to get a node, but if no one else is going to go for a node, then I will be the individual that goes and caps our home node. So I end up capping that. Now I push. Once I cap it, we're outnumbered mid. Now if I plus mid, this is kind of what I want you guys to think about, right? I plus mid, I'm going to even the fight. You don't want to do that as your primary focus as a thief. You want to go to the outnumbered. Now I notice our engineer is on far node, and he is fighting an engineer, so my first goal is to plus him, so that way we can land a nice 2v1, get the kill hopefully, and then I can even the fight on mid. So I go into longbow, I know he's gonna go up there. I try to cut around as well. My team is doing a really good job at mid as well, so that's allowing us to survive. And once we get the node, there's not really much for me to do. I end up just leaving. My team's coming in, so I'm gonna go for mid node here because it looks like we are going to outnumber this mid fight 3-1. We got 1 kill, and as you see there, I'm looking right at the Necromancer. He is very low. He ends up dying, so I'm not able to go into it, but I go ahead and backstab the Ranger and go instantly. I go right to far for the respawns. You see how quick I was able to go into that? It was instinctive, and that's what I want you guys to do as well, is to already know your next move. Now this, don't pay attention because I try to get the res and I end up dying. But once I go back, we end up getting a triple cap. Everyone's fighting, and I see this Necro, or this Dragon Hunter of mine is chasing a Ranger. The Ranger is going to go to our home node, so I instantly stop him here. And I wait for the Dragon Hunter as well, so we can go into a 2v1, but I don't believe he actually comes. So I end up in the 1v1, and all of a sudden my Mesmer comes. I believe he was on respawn, so we were able to get the kill there. As you see, I was in stealth, used my short bow auto attack, and it immobilized him. And from there, we ended up securing the kill. Now, the Hollowsmith comes in. I just try to avoid a lot of his damage because I am low on cooldowns. And I believe we end up killing him in Rhodes as well. And there's already a Necro there, so you can kind of see where it gets really easy to farm kills here if you play it right, and also you make sure to always be aggressive. Now, as you can see there, I could have stayed for the kill, but instantly I leave the kill to go right for this buff. That's another role that you want to do as Thief, is make sure that you are getting the mechanics if no one else can, because you are the fastest and you can go in and out. So I was able to get the buff here and went right into more kills. So kill this guy, fighting this other Dragon Hunter, and I gave everyone the Venom again. And you see the interrupt there. No more boons. I end up stealing his boons, and I instantly push far with my team here. Now, once again, we do this because we're trying to just snowball them. Thief is a really good class that allows you to snowball the enemy as quickly as possible. He ends up using his elixir, and we just chase him down. Get him killed, and instantly I go right into mid. So the goal is to keep everyone down, right? Once you keep somebody down, always in down state, it just makes you outnumbered across the map, and you're able to freely attack whoever you want and kill them as much as you would like. This game ended up, as you can see, it ended quite quickly. And to be honest with you, that's just because Thief is probably one of the great classes to be playing right now. Well guys, thank you for enjoying and sticking with me. If you stuck with me through the end, I really appreciate it. Just want to go ahead and say, if you like what you see here, please subscribe to the channel for more content such as this, where I get into build videos, and also like the video as well. In the comments, if you like something, if this helped you, or whatever other class that you want to see or build idea, drop it down below. I would love to hear some of the ideas that you guys have. And if you have any questions about this video in general, or any of the videos that I've created, once again, go to my Discord channel. You can ask me any questions in the Guild Wars 2 section. There's also a lot of other players in there that would be able to have discussions with you if you would like to. If you're new to Guild Wars 2, want to play the game for the first time, it's completely free. There's a link down below to get the game for free. There's no expansions, but there's also a link for the expansions. Both of those links help the channel survive. So if you want to support it that way, I would greatly appreciate it. If not, I completely understand. And all my other socials are going to be down there below. So that's it for this video. I will see you all in the next one. Bye bye everyone.